Hey guys, Guy here. It is Tuesday afternoon. We got some stuff to get to. Programming note, Dominic Puni's been really good, and he's been so good that NFL offensive line expert Jeff Schwartz gave him a 16-minute film breakdown today. He did a big breakdown on Dominic Puni. He said, stock up on the Poon Dog. And so Wednesday morning at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, Jeff is going to come on this show and break it down. So if you're listening to the podcast before then, catch it on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, great. But that's what it will be live. It'll then be on the podcast feed too if you miss it. So check that out. Lot to get to today. People, I guess, were supposed to believe that Brandon Aiyuk wanted to go to the Steelers really badly, and then they offered him less than $28 million per Albert Breer. And Steelers, the guy who covers the Steelers for KDKA television, Gary Dulac, reported the Steelers offered a second rounder and some other stuff that wasn't players, and that Aiyuk and the Niners didn't do the deal. Well, of course the Niners didn't do that deal. But that Aiyuk would have, I want to go to the Steelers. I want to go to the Steelers without knowing that the deal was going to be something he didn't want. This whole thing is just so fake. Wait a second. The Niners were going to agree to send him for a second round pick, and he was going to take less than $28 million. They were bluffing each other. Oh, the Steelers are just waiting. They're just waiting for Aiyuk to give the go. We're just waiting. The ball's in Aiyuk's court. The Niners have agreed to a deal. Really? For a second rounder and no players? And Aiyuk, he really wants to go to the Steelers. Oh, he just found out yesterday, 2 days ago, last week, they're offering basically the same as the Niners? Cool. Seems pretty real. Anyway, what's the latest reporting on Brandon Aiyuk? Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Jordan Schultz said this today, Tuesday afternoon. Niners and Aiyuk had another meeting yesterday. Talks progress on a long-term deal. There's been movement. There have been some minor details that need to be ironed out with ownership approval. What does that mean? I think you combine that with something that Tim Kawakami said. Tim Kawakami said that he thinks the holdup is the fourth year guarantee. Is this going to be basically 4 years guaranteed, or is it going to be 3 years guaranteed? What does that mean exactly? Well, take Deebo's deal this year as an example. Deebo Samuel in 2022, going into the 2022 season, which was his fourth year in the league, so the last year of his rookie deal, signed a 3-year extension. That means that he played 2022 on the last year of his rookie deal. He then played 2023 on the first year of his extension. He's playing this year, 2024, on the second year of his extension. And next year, 2025, is the third year of his extension. But we all know that next year is the year that the Niners can pretty cheaply get out of Deebo's contract. His contract has no guaranteed money in 2025. So really, it's really a 2-year extension with that kind of fake third year. So when people are telling you what Deebo looks like, he's in incredible shape. Deebo has been at all the practices. Deebo looks ready for a big year. It's true. Deebo has been in very good shape, and he is practicing all the time, and he does look good, and he does look primed for a big year. It's because this is basic. He knows that this is a contract year for him, that he's not playing next year on his current contract. Even if the Niners want to keep him around next year, Deebo's going to want a new contract. That's the part of this we haven't talked about. We're like, oh, well, Deebo's definitely gone next year. I don't think that's the case. But he is not playing next year on the current contract, whether he stays or goes. So that's the Deebo situation. So now go to Aiyuk, right? Aiyuk, who no matter what happens, even if he signs the extension, is playing this year on the fifth-year option, $14 million. If he signs a 3-year extension that then kicks in next year. Well, I guess I should say if he signs a 3-year extension that kicks in next year, even if it's all real money, even if all 3 years are guaranteed, then he got 4 more years on the Niners, right? Including this one. Now, he wants a 4-year extension with 4 real years. That's kind of what Tim Kawakami is getting at. He doesn't want it to be a 3-year extension in reality. He wants it to be a 4-year extension that really is a 4-year extension. If that's the case, then he would play the last year of the contract 5 seasons from now as a 30-year-old. That's pretty good. I mean, if you're the Niners, that's okay. If this guy's as good as you think, if he's good for the reasons you think he's good, then he should still be at 30 years old, a very good player. And by the way, at 28, 29, 30, the way these receiver contracts are exploding, he'll be on a good contract if he's anywhere near the player he was last year for the next 4 or 5 years, then he'll be on a great contract. So when Jordan Schultz says there are some minor details that still need to be ironed out with ownership approval, I read that, I hear what Tim Kawakami said, and to me, you kind of interpret that as how much money, the guaranteed money all goes into escrow, right? So how much money are the 49ers willing to sign away for Brandon Aiyuk? But it definitely feels like if you had said at a certain point, it felt like, oh, there's a 90% chance he was about to get traded, because the Browns thing from the Niners perspective was very real, but he wasn't willing to go to Cleveland, so that thing was never actually close. The Patriots thing, he wasn't willing to go to New England, so the thing was never actually close. Was he willing to go to Pittsburgh? He just found out once the Niners allegedly agreed to a deal, which I have a hard time believing the Niners agreed to a deal. But they really think he was about to go to Pittsburgh for money that he already knew was going to be barely more than what the Niners were offering. Were the Steelers willing to guarantee a full 4 years? It just doesn't totally feel like the Steelers with receivers. So anyway, I mean, by the end, those dramatic days will feel like a distant memory, but we should look with a magnifying glass at even the most dramatic days and go, was he really even willing to go to Pittsburgh? I mean, Pittsburgh's got an ongoing quarterback competition that was going to go into this Saturday against the Lions, the 3rd preseason game. And neither one of those guys can get him the ball with any consistency. And they weren't going to pay him a bunch of money? Huh? What? Huh? Weird. Now, if in the end it gets him 4 fully guaranteed years, then guess what? He kind of wins. Aiyuk wins if he gets a better contract than Deebo got. Then he wins. If it's a 4-year extension, and that means he has guaranteed money coming to him for the next 5 years. And by the way, even in that last year, you're like, if you're still balling, you're looking for a rework. So that's where it stands with Brandon Aiyuk. As for Jacob Cowing, number 83, he played very well in the Niners' last preseason game. Niners starters will play this week against the Raiders on Friday night. Raiders not going to play many starters. I asked Kyle Shanahan today about Jacob Cowing, rookie receivers. Kyle's hard on receivers. The question was, are there things that Jacob Cowing does that makes you think he's going to avoid maybe some of the challenges that rookie receivers face? And this is what Kyle Shanahan said about that.
It's still early. He got his first full weekend. It was good to see him do some things in the game. Really liked how smooth he looked as a punt returner. But he's still got a lot to go through. He's behind.
Yeah, so he's behind. He's behind because he just got back to action last week, right? And he's also behind because he's practiced for a week and played in the game. Kyle's not going to crown this guy. That's the way you treat guys who've just barely gotten healthy enough and then gotten through one game. The NFL requires a lot more of you. But while Kyle Shanahan is understandably pumping the brakes a little bit on that question about Jacob Cowing, he did give a hint to something that really impressed him. And he's right. It was again today. I was at practice watching the 49ers field punts. Cowing is just as, he appears, for what we've seen, just as smooth at it, to use his word, as the guy that Trent Taylor, it seemed like they trust the most. He's a better receiver. He separates. We saw that in the game. I think it will continue. So I actually think he's in a better spot with the Niners than, maybe a coach would want to acknowledge of a guy who's basically been healthy for a week and a half with the team. And part of that is just the circumstance of the situation. Ricky Pearsall's not back this week. Again, dealing with the re-injured shoulder that bothered him. It was a problem in minicamp. He came back from minicamp with a hamstring. He then hurt the shoulder in a blocking drill a couple weeks ago, which I saw him kind of come out of not a blocking drill, a team period in which he was blocking. And, it doesn't feel to me like he's close. And even if that means, well, he's 2 weeks away, maybe he's 2 weeks away, but they don't play next week. So he would have to then get ready with 2 weeks to go before the season and play against the Jets on opening night for the Niners with 0 preseason game experience and maybe still dealing with a shoulder. So if Cowing can stay healthy, and this was the key that I gave for Ricky Pearsall, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be in really good shape. Well, if Cowing can stay healthy, he's going to be in great shape. I don't think, he's not going to be asked to carry the whole load, but keep in mind, even if Brandon Aiyuk were to sign this weekend, I think it's reasonable to expect that Brandon Aiyuk doesn't play his the first game of the year at as many snaps as he would play a normal game. So, okay, if you're like looking at Cowing's chart and you go, okay, where's Cowing going to find some snaps? Well, all right, he's healthy when Ricky Pearsall isn't, so that gets him a little more. He's a punt returner. He can return punts, so that gets him a few more because Pearsall's a punt returner too. But if Pearsall's not returning punts and Cowing is trustworthy, and even if Pearsall's healthy week 1 and on the active roster, do you want him coming off a shoulder returning punts when he hasn't returned a punt in a preseason game? He hasn't returned a punt in live action. Special teams punt returned. Maybe that's dangerous for a guy's shoulder. The collisions maybe are bigger than that on offense. So Cowing just kind of got a little edge there. And then, let's say Aiyuk. Aiyuk is back, but he's going to play 42 snaps instead of 58 snaps or whatever, or 35 instead of 51, whatever. There's a little more for Cowing. So I understand pumping the brakes on him. I understand not wanting to give him too much. And it's legit. You got to prove that you can stay healthy and you have to prove that you can perform. But solid answer there from Shanahan. I'm more bullish than what he was willing to what he feels inside is different. They drafted the guy in the 4th round, so he's bullish on Jacob Cowing, period. They like him. You draft a guy that high, especially an older guy, which he played 5 years of college, who's not big. But I know this, if Ricky Pearsall had played in a preseason game and looked like Jacob Cowing looked this past Sunday night, I'd feel great about Ricky Pearsall. So it's just, I think, trending in a great direction for Jacob Cowing, not just because he looks good and looks comfortable, but the punt return aspect is significant. And you look up and you go, okay, right. By the way, Jennings was a little banged up. That's why he didn't play last week. Now, maybe he'll be, he should play this week. Starters will play. But, I mean, even if Jennings is healthy, I got to tell you, right now, Cowing, this is going to sound crazy. Right now, Friday night against the Raiders, you go, Aiyuk's not playing. You go Deebo, Jennings, their receivers 1 and 2. Who's receiver 3? Some of you might say Ronnie Bell. Some of you, a lot of people would answer that question with Chris Conley. Chris Conley and Cowing running with the ones. But I think it's Cowing. That's crazy. It's like if you put that quote in print, it'd be like, that's an outrageous thing to say. But he returns punts. So if you were saying like, who are our most, let's say for whatever reason, let's say the game on Friday mattered to the Niners. Let's say it mattered. And you like, who are our most important receivers to have active for Friday night? Deebo and Jennings. Next up would be Cowing to me. And there are a lot of people who I cover the Niners with me. And I talk to them about Conley. Like, I like Conley too. But Cowing returns the punts. And I think we'll find that he gets open in a way that Conley, who I like, doesn't as well. And he can be used a little differently. So pump the brakes on Cowing. If somebody was saying to me what I just said, I would say pump the brakes. I asked Shanahan, as you heard in that clip, and Ronnie Bell has not shown very good hands and is not trustworthy, as trustworthy as Cowing as a punt returner. Trent Taylor is as trustworthy as a punt returner, but doesn't get as open as Cowing can. Danny Gray is a non-factor at this point. Chris Conley doesn't return punts, and I don't think you can use him in as many ways as you can use Cowing. So that all adds up to Cowing being, right now, probably more valuable than you want him to be. You don't want to be in that position. And if the Niners really put together a depth chart with this group and no Aiyuk and no Pearsall for week 1, they'd have Conley ahead of Cowing, because really it doesn't matter. You're carrying 5. So whoever 3 and 4 is irrelevant. But just as to make the point, got to be healthy, got to play well again on Friday. But if he's catching punts, he's going to get open. The Raiders, they're not playing their top defense, so Cowing is going to get open. He's in a really good position. And for those of you, and I was not one of them, but for those of you who said after the draft, Cowing's going to make a more immediate impact than Pearsall, it's trending like you might be right about that. Now, Kevin on the stream says, and I don't know if he's serious or not, but it gives me a chance to talk about the former Robbie Anderson, now Robbie Chosen. He says number 3 is Robbie Chosen, which is not the case, but is also not crazy. Today, Robbie Chosen did something that the 49ers only did successfully once all year. Last year, I watched the tape, and that's hit a go ball. Robbie Chosen separates down the field on go balls. He's not a physical presence. He's not very big, but he is fast. And Brock Purdy hit him today. You guys know, if you watch or listen consistently, you know that it started kind of tongue-in-cheek, and now it's just the reality. I can't stop talking about the fact that the Niners just don't hit go balls ever. I watched all their 20-yard throws completions from last year. I think there's 27 of them. One. Now we might debate, maybe there was a second. It's going down as 1 for me. One go ball. So they hit one today to Robbie Chosen. So I'm not writing him off. When they signed him, I'll admit, I kind of thought, well, this is not going to be impactful at all. He's not going to play. And I don't know that. I'm not saying that he will. I'm just saying that happened today, and it doesn't happen very often. So I don't know if he blocks, which would be a problem. I don't know if he can be counted on, but that's just the thing that happened. But they signed him. They don't have much, people. They do not have much right now. So that's what's up with that. One other thing I wanted to mention. Well, I'll get to Pooney in a second. I also want to tell you quickly that I am brought to you by CIRCA Sports. If you are going, and I know some of you are because you've sent me messages telling me you're going to Niners Raiders this week. If you are going, or if you're just going to be in Vegas in the next few weeks, swing by CIRCA Sports and enter the CIRCA Sports contest. Pick one or pick both, $1,000 each to enter either the CIRCA Million, which is $6 million in guaranteed prizes. There's weekly prizes there, quarterly prizes. You pick 5 games a week against the spread in the CIRCA Million. And that would be a fun one. You could pick 4 buddies and each of you pick a game a week. and see who wins. $6 million in guarantees in prizes there. Last place gets $100,000, so you could also try to be the worst. Good luck with that. There's also CIRCA Survivor, which is $10 million guaranteed to the winner or winners. That's where you pick one game a week, straight up, not against the spread, can only use a team once. And you go to Reno or Vegas, either CIRCA Sportsbooks, CIRCA Sports there to enter. You sign up with a proxy there. That's how you play from anywhere. And then you're off and running. So go check it out. Go to circasports.com and click on contest for more information. Appreciate the support there of the pod. I mentioned Jeff Schwartz, who's going to be on the show on Wednesday morning. He did a big Dominic Puni interview, big Dominic Puni film breakdown. Now, today in the press conference, the Poondog got asked by Matt Mayoko about a clip. And the Niners have a show that they put out called Brick by Brick. It's like their own little, kind of in-house production of Hard Knocks. It's very good. They're using these, the beautiful cameras, whatever they're called, not Aria, whatever it is, or they're high-level cameras. But anyway, some of you probably saw Fred Warner gives Dominic Puni some big compliments in it. Mayoko asked Puni about Fred Warner's compliment, and Puni answered it. Now, if you see this on the internet, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. What I'm about to play for you, is fake. The Puni answer is real. I took out Matt's question, and I put in, my fake question to Dominic Puni.
Have you been on social media today?
Yeah.
Did it surprise you to see Jeff Schwartz saying the things that he said about you?
Yeah, it did, for sure. I mean, that's a crazy compliment from a heck of a player. All my friends and family obviously saw it too, and they were just sending it to me like, yo, this is crazy. But, that's just something like I'm going to look back on whenever I'm done with football, and I'm just like, wow, this guy is probably going to be a Hall of Famer, so the fact that he's saying that about me is really cool.
All right, so if you see that, that's fake. I sent it to Jeff just for fun, but he was asked about Fred Warner. He wasn't being asked about my guy, Jeff Schwartz. The other thing, I have to share this. I'll get to your comments in a second, but I have to share this as a college football fan. And just, if you like whatever, I don't know. Did you see this story today? Oklahoma State, this is real. This is not fake. Oklahoma State football is going to wear QR codes on their helmets to help assist with their NIL fundraising. Said their head football coach, Mike Gundy, this is a revolutionary step forward to help Oklahoma State football ahead of the game. It gives a chance for everyday fans across the world to have a real impact when it comes to supporting the NIL efforts for Cowboy football. I'm thrilled about this opportunity for our players. The story goes on to say the QR codes will be 1.5-inch decals featuring each player's name and number. They aren't expected to be visible from the stands. Well, what does that mean? They aren't expected. No, they're not going to be visible from the stands, but they are expected to be noticeable on close shots during broadcasts. Now, anyone that's used a QR code knows it is not the most reliable. If it's on a menu, you kind of got to hit it just right. I've seen on YouTube TV, they'll do some digital advertising, which is annoying, but they'll do it and they'll throw a QR code up. I don't know. I've got a QR code on. Actually, it's not up right now for whatever reason. I don't know. The QR codes, have you ever tried to hit a QR code during like a commercial break when you have 5 seconds? That's hard enough. Hitting a QR code when a player is on the screen with a helmet for 2.5 seconds feels like it's going to be impossible. It's a clever story. I don't see how this is going to. They have turned to basically making these guys Pier 39 guitar players with their QR code in it. Why not just carry a hat in your pocket that you can just put down and I can throw some change in? Can I add a tip? I mean, it's just there have been some really good memes about this today. And they're going to have bag tags with QR codes. Like as they're walking by, you can hit them with QR code, send them $5. I don't know what when it's all said and done, it's going to add up to. But it's just another example of NIL supposed to be for just for the athletes, and just somebody with a business idea has just got their hand in the pot. And like, oh, I got a company now. We're putting QR codes for play. We're here to help. Some company is going to take 20% of whatever $800 this makes, maybe, over the course of the year. And yeah, good luck. I don't know, even with a pause button, how that's going to work. Apparently people don't like my Poon Dog nickname, Big Pun, for Dominic Pooney. I don't know. He's a baller. I know that. He can play. I mean, he's their guy. He's their guy. I mean, they got much bigger problems on the offensive line. So he's in great shape. Another game this week. I kind of wish he was going up against the Raiders starters. But comment from Artemis. No wide receiver depth equals the 49ers are going to try and break the single game rushing attempts record against the Jets. Jerry McDonald, who covers the Niners, asked Kyle a really good question today. He said, you get this guy, Christian McCaffrey, who's just his whole thing is that he's takes every rep, mini camp, I guess camp being training camp. He takes every rep, practice. You can't keep him off the field. And here he is. He's off the field with a calf injury. But what does that mean for his preparation? And Kyle's answer was, well, because he's that type of guy, he'll have himself ready. But I think it's a very legitimate question. Are the Niners going to start slow this year? Trent Williams, I mean, if he's not here beginning of next week, even if you're optimistic, it's time to at least start acknowledging this stuff might affect the Niners' ability to play like a cohesive offense early in the year. Brandon Aiyuk, same. Christian McCaffrey. I tend to take the glass half empty view on this McCaffrey thing, even though, yes, he always has himself ready, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that guy takes reps as seriously as he takes reps tells us that he thinks this time of year it matters for him to get reps, and he's not getting reps. Now, Isaac Guerrero, wearing 49, did look good today. Whatever that means, running backs in practice, caught the ball well, ran well. I thought ran with a little more authority than he had before the hamstring injury. So I think it'll be big for the Niners to see him and see if they can get a little more explosion out of him than Cody Schrader. So that'll be something to watch for. As it relates to Aiyuk, Chris says best way to close a deal is to pretend you aren't interested and have other options. Too funny. Both sides tried to play the game. Yeah, well said, Chris. Jim Everett, the great comment. Quarterback controversy in Santa Clara. Mordecai soon to start. This is not a serious comment, obviously, but it does give me a chance. I don't quite understand. There's some talk, some belief that the Niners may carry 3 quarterbacks this year on the 53-man roster. Brandon Allen, Josh Dobbs. I mean, that talk is realistic. So I'm not taking issue with the talk. Let's address the real thing here. It seems kind of wild to me to do that. If your quarterbacks are battling it out and the margin's really thin between the number 2 and the number 3 guy, then what's really the point of keeping 3? Your third guy can be Mordecai. I know you get the third emergency quarterback, but you want to use a spot on the 53-man roster for a quarterback, whoever QB3 is, if it's Dobbs or Brandon Allen, for a quarterback who's basically as good as the guy who's number 2. I just doesn't make sense to me. If you think Josh Dobbs can't clear waivers and you think Brandon Allen can, fine, do that. But if you think Brandon Allen's just as good or almost as good, and you're worried that someone else is going to claim Josh Dobbs, I got to tell you guys, I know everyone is, riding high after the Dobbs outing this last weekend. I kind of, why are you keeping 3 quarterbacks on the 53 if QB2 and QB3 you think are essentially the same guy? Seems like that roster spot's too valuable. If you get to QB3, you're in trouble. Now, we know the Niners may be a little more sensitive to that than other teams, making sure that QB3 is, they did a lot as good as QB2. Okay. Fine. Then do it. But I don't know. I mean, like last year, let's just say you let Josh Dobbs go and Brandon Allen's your backup, and then something happens to Purdy and to Allen, and you need another quarterback. Well, Josh Dobbs was available last year multiple times. So, like, I don't know, couldn't you get him again? Or at least that Nick Mullen, that type of player, couldn't you just get him again? It seems to me like a pretty, I get it. You're protecting yourself. Four QBs on the 53. Why not? Sometimes you guys, somebody asks a question that's not serious, but it reminds me that there's something to talk about. So, and that was one of those things. All right. I think that's that for this. 11:30 Pacific. Yeah, 11:30 Pacific on Wednesday. If you want to catch it live, Jeff Schwartz is going to stop by, get his takes on some stuff. And I want him to explain to me how is Dominic Puni doing this? And really forget about like what he looked like in the preseason. What are we looking at here? Is this the next? He's a different type of player, but like another Mike Iupati. Is this just the next, like, oh, Niners have a franchise guard? Do they have a franchise? Do the Niners have it? Is it way too early to say that? Get through, a game like 65 snaps against the number one defense, the Jets game. T-Dub says you're forgetting about the third emergency QB rule that went into effect last year. No, I'm not. Do I want to keep 3 guys on the 53-man roster? Can Tanner? I mean, in the playoffs, different animal. Right now, I won't be mad because you got to protect yourself. And the other thing is, let's see who's healthy by the time we get to that point, and then we can figure out kind of what they got to use for the 53-man spot. All right. Well, I got a QR code here. I got a QR code, so you can use that QR code, not to send me money, but use that QR code to go to heyguy.co. And we are getting extremely close. I know I've been saying that. Very close to the 262 hats going up for sale. So heyguy.co, sign up. You can send me a message. Make sure you click yes for marketing, and that way you get on the email list that's marketing. I don't know why Squarespace makes it do it that way. I complain to them, but that's the way it is. So you can scan that QR code or just go to heyguy.co. You can send me a message, and you can sign up for updates so you know when the 262 hats are ready for Saleh. All right, everybody. I will talk to you soon.